am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
Hello, this is Spider-Dan of The Secret Balls here with Mike of Genuine Chit Chat at the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival 2025, and we are covering Jean-PIERRE Jeunet's The City of Lost Children. I really enjoy that Forbidden Worlds brings in all these foreign language films because I think it's really important for the variety and just the rich culture of the festival itself. I know Mike is a huge fan of Amelie.
I love Amelie.
You like Alien Resurrection as well?
I do. I'm a Alien Resurrection stan.
Resurrection stan.
Well, I mean, I like all 4 Alien movies.
Yes, sure.
I think they're all different and they all have their own great unique thing. But for me, enjoyment-wise, Alien 3 is my least favorite. Aliens is obviously favorite. It's probably Aliens, then Alien Resurrection, then 3. But I rate them all 7, more than 7 out of 10.
Pretty solid. And I know you're like a Guillermo del Toro fan. This definitely has a vibe of that.
100%.
Because Ron Perlman's in it, and it's a dark, twisted fairy tale.
Yes,
and we've got a young girl as the main protagonist as well. So yeah, I was really interested to see what you thought of this as well. I'd seen it before. I didn't remember quite how I felt about it. I definitely enjoyed it more this time because I feel I had a similar experience with Assault on Precinct 13 where I'd watched it and I think I was maybe a bit distracted or was in the right frame of mind or I don't know where my head was, but I'm like, it's fun.
It happens. There's a lot to take in this.
Yeah, there's a lot. And we go hard into the weird immediately.
Yeah, literally first 15 minutes. I'd argue it's the weirdest part of the whole film, apart from maybe the end.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, cause I said, like, we're showing Megan, like, you know, she doesn't really like Amelie that much. I got to rewatch it and she's like, okay, it's not as bad as I remember it. It's not as quirky as I remember. And I think most people remember Amelie being quirky than it is.
Yeah.
Because you go, if people go, it's really quirky and weird. It's like, no, it's actually not. It's actually quite a normal people movie. It's just got a slightly quirky intro and she's just a quirky character. The actual main part of Amelie is actually quite normal.
Yeah.
It's just like, you just don't know where the plot is going.
What you would call a people movie.
Yeah. And I adore people movies. They're my favorite genre, but it's like, the problem I think a lot of people have with Amelie is they're like, I don't know where the plot's going.
Yeah.
What is the point of us knowing about this young girl? And it's like, the whole point is knowing about her and every person she interacts with in this little journey to find herself. It's a coming of age movie, Amelie.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
This film is not that.
No.
This film is weird as shit. This really, the whole time I was watching it, I was like, I said to you after we watched it, I was like, every 15 minutes, I was changing my mind. I was like, I'm not on board with this, it's too weird.
Yeah.
I'm on board with this, it's actually really clever and I get it. Nope, now they've gone really weird again, I don't get it. Oh, no, now it's really clever again, I get it. But there's one thing I should have asked before recording, which I just do not understand.
Go on. Maybe I can answer this.
So there are going to be kind of spoilers in this to a degree, but because the film is so weird, even if, we'll try not to spoil the whole thing, but like, even if you haven't seen the film, if you like Amelie, definitely give this a go. If you can't stand Amelie because it's too quirky, don't go near this film because if you think Amelie's quirky, you don't know what quirky is, mate. You have no idea. The thing I didn't get, and this is kind of right into the middle of the film really randomly, is when the conjoined women, who are basically the villains, when they the super religious people who are giving the people the eye gear stuff. They catch they catch Ron Perlman's character, and then Crumb, the main girl. And they say they're going to drown them with the fishes, sleep with the fishes, and they put them on those planks to die. Okay? I get that. And they put 3 guards nearby to make sure once the seagulls eat all the fish food, they fall in the water and drown because they're roped up. Get that. Why did the conjoined women tell the owner of the flea circus about that? Because them doing that...
Because she wanted the jewels from the safe they stole.
So what's also?
So the kids went back without her because she said, "I'm going to help this guy."
Yeah.
And she still had jewels in her pocket.
So she told him to basically let her die and then take the jewels off, or get the jewels off her before she died.
I think
That was the one bit.
Yeah,
because him going there, he literally saves their lives.
Yes, but I don't think he was there to kill them. I think he was there to find out what they're doing, get the jewels, or because the kids go back and they don't have everything, and they don't know where the safe is because the other guy, that we find out is linked to this whole weird science stuff, has found the safe, underwater, and
he's moved
doing his own thing, and curating history kind of thing he's doing. So I think it's that, because she says like hand it over and she pulls it out.
That would make sense.
But yeah,
that's the one bit I don't.
But I get you not understanding it because it's not very clear.
That was the one. Every other part of the film you're watching and you go, I don't understand what on earth is going on here at all. And then normally about 15 or sometimes 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes later,
there's something.
It then explains why this character an hour ago was doing this thing.
I also got confused because the little brother was called Grub. Was that right?
Yes.
And then she was called Crumb.
Yep.
And they were both kind of quite similar
and because it's a French language film as well, to clarify. So we're listening to someone speaking French and the subtitles as well.
Yes.
So it's also doubly sometimes hard, and also because the director is so visual and very fast, and it's like super fast and really slow. Because it's subtitles, a
lot like fisheye lenses. And
really close to the camera. And I like that about it. It's a real cool thing to do, and he's a brilliant person behind the camera. But the thing is, with a subtitle film, and you and I both watch plenty of subtitle films. We love world cinema. There's so many great 100%. Movies which have subtitles that you have to watch, and subtitles overdubbed. It's very rare. Dubbing is better, almost never. But it's just one of those things where, because we don't speak French, we have to, it's literally you read down, you scan the subtitles and look back up. And so sometimes when there's a complicated thing going on, you don't maybe read it, you maybe miss a word or two.
Yeah, you got one eye looking at the screen, one eye on the subtitles.
I go brr, bum, brr, bum, brr, bum. And so it's like every probably 5 seconds, I'm spending 1.5 seconds reading and 3.5 seconds watching. Constantly. And the good thing is, I think, because he, especially as he gone on in his career, he became more internationally recognized. I think, especially Amelie, so much of Amelie is actually little bits of dialogue and stuff said via watching and understanding via
I think this is a very visually rich film. 100%. And I think we've talked about like vibe films where it's more about the atmosphere, the world building, the feel of it, the cinematography of it, more so than maybe the plot. Because, fairy tales are usually a bit loosey-goosey with the rules and stuff and the universe and whatever this story needs to be. And there is like this Victorian element, this cyberpunk element, and the kind of the cyclopses that are kind of menacing sci-fi. I said to you, I was like, I'm pretty sure Ron Perlman's immune to this, and I completely forgot he spoke very small amounts of French.
It's like broken almost. It's like a child speaking.
Because he said he refers to himself in the third person as well, so he is a bit
one like, goes here, one help Crumb, instead of like, I will help you.
Monosyllabic kind of.
It's basically how I speak Italian. It's basically how much I know. I've been learning Italian for 4 years.
This is how my inner monologue sounds.
Like
one must go forbidden world. But I enjoyed it more this time round because I think I was more engaged. I was more kind of turned on to it, and I was more open to it. I think the CGI use in it is actually quite good for the time, like 95. I think
it's basically just the smoke, isn't it?
Yeah, and the fleas. I think the fleas work. I think that works because they're kind of a bit weird and slimy and liquidy looking. But I think it was fun. The basic plot, I know we've not talked about it. I'll try. I
would like to try and help and assist as well.
Yeah, so we'll see how we go. So,
be brief.
We do get a scene. I'll try my best. We do get a scene that has, which I hate, is exposition being told to characters that already fucking know it, but they're telling it as a kind of a fairy tale, which is their excuse, I'm sure. But we have a scientist who cannot dream.
You're going in hard.
I'm going.
Oh my god, you're going to be explaining this.
The film goes in hard because we have a creepy Santa.
You're going to be explaining this for so long.
I'm not.
You really are.
I'm trying my best. Well, you're making it longer by not letting me explain.
I was going to try and explain it in brief, and then we go into details of certain scenes we want to talk about, because we've already been talking for nearly 10 minutes.
Right.
We're trying to make it 20 minutes.
I'm going to try and be brief, but you're stopping me doing that. So, scientists can't dream. The scientist is a clone of another one that's gone missing, and there's various other clones and creations this scientist made, and he kidnaps children from the city to enable him to dream and rest and get his youth back, effectively. We go into the city. There are a young girl, a part of a kind of an orphanage of pickpockets and thieves who are run by the woman, the conjoined twins, and then one is part of a sideshow or
he's a strong man.
Yeah, he's a strong man, and his little brother gets picked up by the Cyclopses and transported to the scientist to do that. And then these two characters interact and know and help each other out through the film. And there's a lot of other stuff that occurs, but I think in a nutshell, that's what it's about.
I was going to say, because everything you said, there's a very succinct way of doing it. That is literally the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That what Dan just said is a ridiculously abridged version of the first 20 minutes. And so much, and I think it takes you about halfway to the film to even understand what you've just said.
Yes, exactly.
Because when they say that the big exposition dump at the start is so weird, and because also the thing is, the weirdest stuff is all in this big castle, which is with the clone scientist stuff, which is actually the main plot line. It's everything connects to this plot line of the scientist who's depressed because he can't dream, but he's actually a clone, and there's also another clone which is like just a brain in a jar who's a nice scientist, but who's also a clone. But then also there's these 5 completely identical clones who have the brains of children who all think they're the original clone, and the other ones were like cloned from them. And then there's a woman who is like 2 foot tall,
like a little person,
who was the part she was also a
she
creation.
Was one of the original creations.
Yeah, the original scientist guy who seemingly has disappeared, he created a little princess who's this woman who's 2 foot tall, and then also made a clone, which he called his brother, who's the depressed guy, another clone who he called another brother, who is the brain in a jar, and then clones of himself, and there are 5 of them, which are all the ones fighting over being a clone. And all of that is established in the first 5 minutes of the film, but not by going, here's what's happened. No. It's all of these characters, and again, so there's 5 clones of the exact same person, plus the guy who's like going crazy about the dream stuff, and the brain in the jar, and the woman, 8 characters with children as well, all arguing over stuff. And then the only way you even understand what they're talking about is 10 minutes later, one of them is trying to make the guy who can't cry and can't feel emotions, trying to get him to cry. And that's the exposition dump. And you're like, I was watching this, I was like, if this whole film is like this, I don't know if I can breathe.
But the opening scene isn't even reality, because we learned that's a dream. Because it's a little boy dreaming Santa's going to come down the chimney and they're really happy. I did consider this for alternativity stories, but we're doing it now. I don't know if it's technically set at Christmas, but there's 2 Christmas dreams, and then they do mention Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas dinner, don't they?
Yeah, and so I'm like, I think there's enough Christmas stuff where it could have crossed the border, but like that opening, and it's creepy and it's weird and it's very like. They mentioned before in the introduction, like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Christmas Eve, all those kind of things, and or Deadly Games or Dial Code Santa, whatever that one's called. But like that's really difficult to get on board with, because we're being introduced to a world that is not the world; it's a dream world, only to be thrust into arguably an even weirder world, which is the real world, in order to go to this city and learn about the real people that are not mad scientists or clones.
And also, the thing is as well, is that your main 2 point of view characters is Ron Perlman as the one who's the strong man, and then the actress who we got an intro for, whose name escapes me, which I'll look up, which is the girl Crumb. So you've got this young girl and there's a strongman guy. They don't know each other. The first 20 minutes is them meeting, essentially, and basically connecting, while these people who are the Cyclops people with these weird headgear on, which doesn't get explained for ages, are seemingly collecting children a bit. And so you're like, okay, so I'm trying to wrap my head around, there's 4 storylines going on at once to begin with, which is ignoring the dream stuff. Off the dream stuff is the crazy stuff in the castle, Ron Perlman storyline, Crumb storyline, and then the general world of what's just kind of happening with the Cyclopses.
But I feel like this is a bit like Amelie, though. Like the way it has all these different characters, all these different plot lines kind of going on, somewhat extraneously. That's how I had a little bit of difficulty with it.
You need to rewatch Amelie, because everyone says that to me, and I've watched that film about 8 or 9 times. Like, my niece is named after.
I understood it. I think because it is foreign language as well. I think and I didn't know what to expect coming in, and then it was so fast and frenetic. That I did struggle. And I feel there's a little bit of that here, but I think you're correct, because Amelie's fairly like it's a normal story, a people story, person.
It's just a girl growing up,
and I think that's why it's a bit more, it's more relatable, of course. But this is this dark, twisted fairy tale, and again, it is like full tilt mad straight away.
Yeah, and I will say,
and I think what's good about certain films like this is it doesn't want to hold your hand. It says it says keep up.
Exactly.
That's your challenge.
And once you get halfway through the film, it's either you've kind of wrapped your head around what's going on, or you're completely fucking lost. But I think with Amelie, he learned, and because I think what he does is, from what I looked at his discography, it's almost like he does a safer, more easy to understand film like Amelie. Then he does a
is Amelie 98?
No, it's 2001.
2001. So this is 95.
Yeah, he's done several films. Weird enough, he does this film, then he does Alien Resurrection, which has he literally. Alien Resurrection feels nothing like a Jean-Paul Jeunet film. Literally, I didn't even know it was his film.
Written by Joss Whedon.
Yes, of course. But so that's probably why, and also because it had to fit within a franchise, you couldn't do all this weird stuff. But I will say, with anyone who's watched Amelie, I will say it's actually, the first time you watch it might be a bit jarring, but when you first watch it, it's actually quite straightforward, because the first 10 minutes is literally, here's Amelie. She likes this, this, this. She likes this, this, this. And then here's Amelie as an adult. She's basically on her own little merry way. And so it establishes really early on, all you need to know is this girl, Amelie, and then almost every scene is her interacting with a person, and then she leaves that person. You don't get many scenes without her. So the thing is that, although I understand what you're saying, there are a lot of characters. She's the only person you need to worry about, because there's not really, until the second half of the film, there's not really any scenes without her in it. So even if you don't know what's going on with these other characters, her journey makes sense. I
struggled as well, because I watched it with people who really love it.
Oh, fuck that.
And
no.
Which was, they really loved it, and they have the art on the wall and everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate it. I just didn't think it was the best thing since sliced bread. I went, it was fun, but it wasn't, again, I think it was a struggle for me to keep up. And
it's a second watch film.
Yeah.
I
think if I do, because I think they gave me a copy of it, actually. So I think I've got it somewhere. I think it didn't work.
Well, I'm going to make you, we've got like a little plan of maybe next year after.
Sure.
We've got a plan of making each other watch films, weird and quirky films. And Amelie's going to be one I do want you to watch. And so we'll delve into all that again, because there's so many answers to that. But back to this film, I derailed us, so I hold my hands up for that. But the difference here is where Amelie is the central character, and really, as long as you keep up to date with what she's doing, you don't have to worry about everything else. There's little side plots, but you don't really have to worry. The only stuff without her is a bit of cafe stuff, which she works through. So this is not that.
No.
This is none of the characters even interact with each other for 20 odd minutes. And a half of it is, and it's also a loose retelling of like a Brothers Grimm story.
Yes, absolutely.
But also with sci-fi clone stuff. That also is like, the Cyclopses are literally like, the technology they use is by these crazy scientisty people, but it's they're using that via this religious cult that's in one scene. But the reason that the religious cult is being manipulated is to get these children to this castle, to get them to dream to help this guy. And you're like,
and there's kind of a plot and then there's a tattooed man they're looking for as well. They're like, you've got to go to the tattooed man. I was like, why? Well, I turned to you because they get this map off this tattooed guy's head, and then they're like, we need the map to get through the minefield, and they're rowing through the minefield, and they're the biggest fucking mines you've ever seen.
And above water,
and the biggest fucking mines. And I said to Mike, I was like, I don't think they needed that map.
I almost feel like that was almost felt like a joke. But yeah, and I feel like, again, this is probably a film, if you watched it the second time, I imagine, if you were on board with this, because I think I don't want to watch it again. If we watch it again now,
I have enjoyed it on the second watch.
I enjoyed it the first watch, but
I think you're right, though. I think Amelie does it well. That kind of, you mentioned like the domino effect scene where they're almost going to die, and this flea triggers, jumps on the dog, does this, has the guy crash, that causes an explosion, knocks somebody else out, does this, and then actually saves them, has that. And I think Amelie does that once all the pieces are in place, and then when you get to the film, it's like, oh, that character did this, and that affected this, and that. The chain reaction kind of thing. I think he does that very, very well.
Yeah, almost everyone I know who's seen Amelie once, they all go, I don't get it. And I go, do you? And here's a very yes, no binary question. Do you remember the point of the photographs that she finds, the ripped up photographs. Do you have any recollection of what that goes to?
Doesn't it link to her the finding her love or true love or the guy she's looking for or something like that?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah.
So most people, when I ask, they go, "No, I don't understand what that was."
Yeah.
Like I don't know, because a decent chunk of the film was also why are the photos ripped up?
I have not seen that for about 5-6 years.
No,
but I remember vaguely.
Yeah. But that wasn't a quiz on you.
No,
I just know when I talk to people who say, "I didn't watch Emily, want somebody to get it," and I go, "Do you remember why photos get ripped up?"
I got it. Like I understood it, but I just didn't love it, and I struggled with it.
Yeah.
But I think on a second watch it probably would be.
The cinematography of Amelie is incredible.
Yeah.
And it is very.
It's good. It's gorgeous to look at.
Oh yeah. But this film it's dark, it's weird, but funnily enough, although I said the start of this with all the clones is so hard to get your head around, after the first scene or so, and once I kind of got to understand, probably my favorite scenes were when you've got the 5 clones all on screen. And because I'm just like, especially that in 95, recording that, I don't know if they used it digitally or they did the thing when they have to record on reel. One for him doing it there, and then then he gets out the shot and then comes back there, and they just keep the camera static and then have to overlay all of them. And I think they do.
Yeah, I think that's the technique.
And doing that with 5, and the way they all interact is insane.
And they're all singing in unison to the songs,
to the birthday and stuff.
Birthday songs.
They all slap each other on point.
Yeah,
and it's like, how do you even conceptualize of writing that, let alone filming it?
Yeah,
like.
But I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was actually quite funny, considering the topic is quite kind of dark and disturbing and a bit messed up, and kidnapping children, to put them in this machine, and they're all really depressed and they're all crying. There's a lot of scene of them crying.
There are a lot of crying,
being malnourished and
poor, being taken advantage of by these conjoined women.
And you've got the flea guy as well, the flea circus guy.
Who's just like broken.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole scene like Ron Perlman is like the one crying in a bar, really depressed, and they make jokes of it. But I'll say the clone guy is Dominique Pignon. Mm-hmm. He's amazing.
MVP.
He should win like an Oscar for this performance. It was phenomenal.
He's very funny.
And then the actress is I think it's Judith Vitette, who plays Miette, who he calls Crumb all the time. Yeah. She's the one who we got to see a video introduction of her, all in French with subtitles, which were quite fun.
Absolutely. And the costumes were by Jean-Paul Gaultier. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is interesting because I like the costumes, but I almost expected more.
Yeah, I get.
Because I would expect like, I'm not the biggest fan of the Hunger Games movies, but in the central of Hunger Games, when they've got all this fancy futuristic garb, some of that looks amazing. And I was like, oh, that, if you said to me I'd understand. But I'm like, the one is wearing just like a striped top.
Yeah.
They can find
with fashion, isn't it? They go on the catwalk and they have these most like over the top, extravagant, bizarre things you would never actually wear. And then when they go, I like that design, then they kind of like modernize it and pull it back.
Yeah.
And make it more like something humans would actually wear in the
I guess
world.
His influence was really a lot about Victorian era France.
Yes,
which again, the costume was great.
Yeah, a lot of like jumpers and sweaters and stripy tops.
But it's just not something I'd expect from one of the world's leading fashion designers. That's more what I was like, oh, it's really good, but it's not. But I think all the characters are so weird. Yeah. Except the one is probably the most normal character in the whole thing. But he's
the kind of Mice and Men Lenny kind of character.
100%. Yeah. He's just reined back a bit. Yeah. He's just nice.
Yeah, not violent. Well, not violent to children.
No. He's just nice, dumb, young at heart.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it.
Loves his little brother that you adopted. You found him in the trash, kind of thing.
Yeah. He's too sweet for the world. That's almost the kind of point. Yeah. And whereas Crumb is like, she's lived on the streets so hard. Yeah. She becomes more tender, and he has to kind of grow up. And that's kind of like
mature. He matures, and then and the clones, they kind of work out that whole storyline. Again, no spoilers, but I don't know what else really to say about it that we haven't already said.
It's not a film like any other I've ever seen. It's tangentially connected directionally to Amelie at parts. I always say all the scenes with One and Crumb feel like Amelie scenes because it's two characters basically just talking, and that makes sense. When it's with all the other crazy characters, it doesn't feel like an Amelie film.
No, it's very experimental. I think you can see where he's going. You can see where it's playing with the kind of tropes and trademarks he has.
Yes.
And I think he's not quite there. However, I still think it's quite interesting, and I like Guillermo del Toro stuff as well. So and it does give me that vibe, not only because it's Ron Perlman, but it's like it makes me think of Pan's Labyrinth as well.
I was going to say it feels like Pan's Labyrinth almost mixed with Amelie.
Yeah,
but like put them together, and both of those films in a lot of ways are Amelie's quite fast, Pan's Labyrinth's quite slow, but it's almost like you multiply their speeds together.
Yeah.
So it's like Pan's Labyrinth's like 1.5. Amelie's like a 2.5. This film's like a 4. It's so quick. Scenes go by.
It's fast paced, really fast paced.
Yeah, and it's not short. It's like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So or hour 45 or whatever. So it's not like really short, but it is. And the end's fine. It's the ending's all right.
It works for me.
But I think this film is not about the narrative.
No, absolutely.
It's literally just these characters all interacting with each other.
Do you enjoy this world? If you don't, you're not on board, I think.
Yeah, and it's weird as hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can't say I'll be rushing to watch it again.
No.
But if someone said to me, I'm really into Amelie, I want to watch more stuff, and they are like, if they like horror films, because although this isn't horror, I feel like if you're a fan of horror, you'd be more ready to be on board with this.
Yeah.
Because of it's got
more like, I'd say,
suspension of disbelief.
Yeah,
that's what we were trying
that was it.
In a previous podcast, we couldn't think of what the word was.
I was thinking that. I was thinking it's something like that.
Yeah, suspension of disbelief. That's
it.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
We were tired. We were very tired.
It was like 2 in the morning. We were recording.
Still tired now.
Yes.
But yeah, I can't think of anything else I want to say. I'm sure we're done. But another great pick, another really interesting choice. I think Forbidden Worlds Film Festival is full of interesting choices. And that's what I want in my films. Even if I don't like them, I like them to be interesting in a different way, even if it's a negative way or a positive way. And again, it's going to be something that I think the majority of the audience hasn't seen either.
Yeah.
But yes, as always, we're alternating these. They're on Mike's channel, Genuine Chit Chat. They're on my channel. Wherever this one goes, it could be on either. We've not decided just yet.
Yeah.
But wherever it lands, you'll have access to it. Mike will be tagged, Forbidden Worlds will be tagged, and all the other stuff. So yes, check it out, and we'll get on to the next review very, very soon.